with d5 later. But I actually have a slightly unpleasant move for him already, a4, because the queenside looks a little bit vulnerable with the rook having already come from a8 to e8. I mean, the natural move here looks to be something like knight e7, which I was thinking about. But after something like takes, perhaps bishop g5, I'm not sure the most exact move order, knight g6, rook a7. Already it's a little bit problematical for black because he can't really play c5. This pin looks very unpleasant. Some move like queen c8, I was thinking maybe queen d2. If black is looking now to play c5, knight f5 is coming with tempo, hitting d6, it's very unpleasant. Maybe some move like h6. I don't know, I was thinking maybe I can just take this and, I don't know, it might already be a very, very strong attack, might even just be mate, I wasn't completely sure. So suddenly, out of nowhere, black seems to have a few difficulties because I'm sure the move he played d5 was not his original intention. I don't know, maybe something like b4 is possible, but in general black doesn't really want to play on the queen side here. So it's not clear what he should do. I mean, he played d5, I took. I mean, I was thinking a bit about e takes d5, because maybe knight takes d5, knight e4 might be nice, but after e takes d5 probably he can play knight d4 first also. It's another possibility for him. So I thought in the end I'd have to play c3 just to cover this d4 square. And it's also a bit of a problem for black that is not so clear what he does now. Now this knight e7 to g6 plan doesn't exist anymore, and it feels a bit silly to bring the bishop back to e7, so it's not so clear what black's plan is. I mean, maybe he should just kind of accept he's worse and play something like d takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop e7, bishop g5, but it's clear he's going to end up in some unpleasant ending here. His knight and bishop are a bit misplaced, the bishop's going to come to d5 at some moment. It's a bit worse. So, I mean, he chose instead to keep the tension, but it's a kind of unpleasant tension for black, I think. I played bishop e3 here. I mean, it looks in a way natural now to go back bishop e7, but then I was thinking again maybe about this very unsubtle plan with queen c1. I mean, it looks not very impressive, but on the other hand it's not so easy to meet. I mean, knight f5 might be my next move, and bishop takes h6 could be quite a strong threat. I wasn't so sure about this. I mean, in a way rook e6 looks logical to cover along this third rank, but this pin is very unpleasant on this diagonal. I don't think this pin is always a big problem for him. He can very rarely play d takes e4. I mean, I was thinking for a bit here. It's not so clear how to improve white's position. In the end, I decided to try and play h3, knight h2, knight g4, just to challenge this knight on f6, because it's a very important defender for black. So he continued bishop e7. I was thinking maybe he would play rook fe8 here, with the idea knight h2 to play anyway knight e7, to maybe try and come to g6. I mean, I can play something like rook a7 maybe, and I wasn't sure. Perhaps black can play c6, knight g4. Certainly white is better. It looks very unpleasant for black, but okay, maybe he has to try it, because bishop e7 back I felt wasn't. The rook on e6 is very awkward. But anyway, it was obviously based on this kind of forcing line, and he wanted to go rook a8, because by challenging the a file now it means he can move this knight from c6 to a5. So now we got into a tactical sequence. I mean, I think we both thought it was good for white after the game, but who knows, maybe it's not so clear. I mean, I took on a8, bishop a8, queen f3. It's quite forcing because I threatened to take on d5, and he has to go knight a5, rook a1. I was thinking maybe his idea was to take and go king h7 here. I wanted to go maybe knight g4, and I thought perhaps queen c6 here. This looks very dangerous for black, but I couldn't exactly work it out. I mean, something like rook b8, I was thinking d4. I don't know whether bishop takes h6 is, whether this was, I couldn't quite work this out. Maybe it's good for white. Certainly he can't play g takes. I don't know if knight takes g4 is possible. I mean, white doesn't have to do this. I can also take on d4. It's clear white is doing well. Maybe this bishop takes h6 is strong. I'm not quite sure if maybe knight takes g4 is a move I couldn't quite work out over the board. There's lots of possibilities here, but I think maybe he had to try this because in the game I think this knight g4 it's very hard to see a move for him now. Because this pin down the A line is very unpleasant, and something like knight takes g4 here. I think I can just play. I think just h takes g4 is good here, because again rook f6 I can just play knight f5 here. I think. So he tried this bishop b7, but I don't think it basically works, because bishop takes d5, now he can't play any move like c6 here, because there's bishop takes f7. So knight takes d5 is forced, but now black is giving up on a pawn, and still this pin down the A line is very annoying. Maybe queen d6 was... Well, queen d6, I think maybe there's an immediate problem with knight f5 here. Queen takes e5, queen takes d5, or take on d6. I think it looks very bad as well. So he played queen e6, bishop f5. Yeah, I thought he was planning to take with the bishop actually. Maybe it's slightly better try, but in general the ending looks very bad. He's a pawn down and bad position as well. Probably the knight comes back to f3 anyway, because something like takes, bishop c8, I always have this knight d4 and the knight can't move anywhere and the b pawn is attacked. Looks pretty bad. He took with a pawn, but can't really take on f3 because this pin on the A line I don't think he would ever get out, so I mean, it looks quite bad now. And I think probably I wrapped up reasonably well. Knight e4, takes. He has to protect the rook. Knight d4, not so many moves. I think I was thinking about e5, but then knight b5, something like knight b3, just rook b1 I think is a good option here. And the knight has nowhere to go. He has to play something like rook a1, but it's already 2 pawns. I think it should be quite an easy win. The knight is not well placed. So he went for bishop f8 instead. But I mean, now the problem is the bishop on a6 is just stuck. It can't go anywhere, so it's hard to see many technical difficulties. Took, king f8, f3. But the problem is now if he plays something like king e7, knight e4, bishop b5, bishop c5 check, and king has nowhere to go. If it goes to e8, there is knight d6 check and king d7. I can go bishop f8, so he just resigned after f3.
Thank you very much, Mickey. If somebody has a question, please ask the master. Давайте мы отдельно спросим, я так сказать его сейчас выведу. Okay, thank you very much, Mickey.
Okay.